You're listening to the Basketball Lab podcast with your hosts Mark Shannon, Mark Clark, and Marco Corona. They'll discuss all the top news and stories from around the basketball world while giving their opinion and insight. Now, here are your hosts.
Welcome back to another episode of the Basketball Lab podcast. I'm your host, Mark Shannon, and I'm joined by my co-host, Mark Clark and Marco Corona. Boys, it's another episode. We've got the NBA season's right around the corner, only, 2 weeks away, if that.
Can't wait.
Right, training camp has already started. Masai Ujiri's putting in toonies underneath the floorboard already. But
hope that's a down payment,
right?
From MLSA.
But the biggest news, I think, so far the last week or so has been Mr. Beard, James Harden. Will he show up? Won't he show up? I mean, we know now that he showed up and he has to test negative 6 times in order to play or to start practicing. But that was the biggest news. And so what do you guys think about the James Harden news? There's reports that he wants to go to Philly or a contending team. What do you guys think about those reports that are out there in terms of the James Harden stuff?
I think James Harden needs to be tested for being an idiot. Never mind tested for COVID. Listen, at the end of the day, I think that we can all agree James Harden is a great player, right? I mean, anybody who says otherwise, they're out of their friggin' mind.
Yeah.
And we've criticized on this podcast Houston, left, right, and center, right, for the things that they've done or haven't done. And the irony here is now James Harden is holding this franchise hostage. And they basically have no choice but now to move him. He's made his wishes very clear. He clearly doesn't want to be in Houston. Obviously he showed up after a little baby's party, being hungover and stuff like that. Now he's going to play. But I mean, at the end of the day, I think he's not going to end up being a Houston Rocket by the end of this year. Maybe a quarter through the season. The problem now is that when you sort of, hold out, not really, the leverage, Houston loses all leverage. I don't know how much leverage they had before, but now it's gone because it's clear that the player doesn't want to be there. So I know now that his value is not that high because he wants out. I'm going to get him, but I'm going to get him at my right price, not your price.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunately, I also think that the way it was conducted, it's a bit classless and a bit chicken shit. Just show up, and if you want to be traded, that's fine. But again, this is sports. It's a business. At the same time, it's a tactical move. Make no mistake about it. In my opinion, his people know exactly what they want him to do. They're putting Houston in the corner. And now Houston has no choice but to trade him because tactically, from a business standpoint, he has given them basically no choice. He's going to show up, but he's going to pout. He might not be 100% going, this and that. He might self-load manage himself. I don't know, right? But this is it's not going to end well. Whoever gets James Harden, I think, is going to get actually a good deal. And Houston, the return, you never get an equal return for somebody that caliber, has basically lost a lot of that leverage. So it's I don't know where it's going to end up. I don't know if that means Philadelphia or otherwise. From what I understand, Golden State is out of the running. So who knows? Who knows what's going to happen, and we'll see. But again, James Harden has basically made it clear that he's not going to be a Rocket, and I don't believe that he will as well.
Yeah, this is giving me flashbacks from AD with the Pelicans. So player request trade, team is like, we'll trade you when we feel like trade you. Player no longer wants to play for the team, doesn't want to have anything to do with the team. And at the end of the day, because the team didn't trade him when he requested a trade, even though they want to do it on their own terms, he's lost value. And I don't know if he's really lost value, but other teams are just not that interested anymore. So it's going to be more difficult for them to move him. And even if they move him, it's not going to be for what they could have gotten for him before, like during the off season when he initially requested the trade.
Right. And sorry to just jump in there, Mike, but I think just to be correct, and from my perspective as well, it's not that it's the perception of what teams are going to give up has now changed. his value still, like in a perfect scenario, his value would be, a couple of first round picks, some prospects, whatever the case is, right? And maybe an
arm and
expiring
a leg.
contract, right? A king's ransom in a perfect scenario. But now it's basically, he said, I'm not going to be in Houston anyway. So if you guys want me, you can have me. But it's basically at a discount because like his contract is his contract. So there's no devaluing in that. It's the
he doesn't
return.
care what the Rockets get for him. It's just what the Rockets will get for him, and they probably won't get what they initially wanted.
Yeah, it's not like the NFL
or could have gotten,
and eat some of it, and his money is guaranteed. Period. End of story. So it is what it is.
Yeah, I completely agree. Houston is not going to get what they could have gotten for him earlier, prior to earlier when he requested the trade. Because obviously a lot more teams were interested in him, so probably bad move on Houston part there. But it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out, and if he plays for them, and how much he plays for them.
Yeah, I mean, you brought up the Anthony Davis one, but to me, I mean, I'm not saying this is what's going to happen or not, but it reminds me of what Kawhi Leonard and his people did in San Antonio. He wanted to go to LA. He wanted to go where he wanted to go, and San Antonio sent him to Toronto because
that backfired.
But that was the best. But that was the best deal that they were going to get from a player that was demanding that they wanted to be out. They weren't playing for San Antonio. And they made it publicly known. James Harden, like we're hearing reports that this is the case. He hasn't made it publicly known, but I'm assuming that's going to come sooner or later that he will be asking for it. But I know, obviously, this is not a pipe dream, but like something that we talked about earlier about the shark bet odds, about having the Toronto Raptors at 1,000 to 1 odds or whatever it is. But didn't we see this happen with Kawhi Leonard? I'm not saying it's going to happen or anything.
Mike's already shaking his head.
I think you guys already know where I'm going with it. I'm not saying this is what's going to happen. I'm just saying
man.
It's kind of got the same sort of essence that a team that from outside the picture is going to be the one to land a James Harden. I'm not saying it's Toronto. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying that a team, it's not going to be the Nets. It's not going to be the Warriors. It's not going to be a contending team that's at the top of the standings. It's going to be one of those.
It's going to be a team that we don't expect it to be.
Exactly. Kind of like what the Toronto Raptors. Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? That's what I'm trying to say. Like, it's going to be something that we're not expecting. We're not expecting I'm just throwing out a name. I'm not saying – we're not expecting the Toronto Raptors to go out and get James Harden. We're not expecting the Atlanta Hawks to go out and get James Harden. We're not expecting the Denver Nuggets or any of those teams to go out and get James Harden, because the same teams are talked about. The Nets, the Warriors, the Clippers, all those teams are the ones that are talked about.
It's going to be the Suns.
Right? And, wow. I don't think so. I mean, you already got Devin Booker there. There's no way they're moving for a ball hog like James Harden. But
they're going to trade Chris Paul. Can you imagine?
Oh, man. Back to Houston.
That would be something.
Man, one thing that Houston that it's come out today, that Houston, that backcourt is the most expensive backcourt in the NBA. $82 million between the two of those players this year. Like, they're the most, and so you got John Wall and James Harden as your backcourt. John Wall, like we talked about before this, has played 73 games in the last 4 years. He hasn't touched an NBA court in 2 years. So they're riding on the fact that hopefully he'll be able to bounce back to his all-star form from before. But players coming off injuries like that, off Achilles injuries and stuff like that, they don't ever really get back to the form they were before.
Not right away, at least.
Exactly. So right now is probably your perfect time to trade James Harden. I know there's reports from the ESPN and all those people that are saying that Houston is still asking for a king's ransom back for James Harden. No team's going to be willing to give that up for a guy that doesn't want to play for another team. They know he wants out. And I've said it before in this league, the NBA is a player league. It's a player-driven league. We saw it with Paul George when he wanted to leave OKC to go to the Clippers. He forced his way out. Kawhi forced his way out of San Antonio. LeBron made his decision to go join forces with Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade. It's a player-driven league more. They have more opportunity to make decisions for themselves, and that's what's happening more and more, and that's what you're seeing. So I do expect James Harden to be traded by the end of this year, whether it's at the deadline, halfway through the year, 4 games into the season, whatever it is. I do expect James Harden to be traded.
Yeah, I agree. They're going to move him. They'll probably just wait. They're just waiting now to see like who is interested and who will give the best offer, because obviously it's just the offers are going to be take it or leave it deal.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's going to be up to them.
Are we surprised? And I'm just going to throw this out there. I was just scrolling through something, and the only reason I'm bringing this up because I saw a picture of JJ Barea. So you know where I'm going with this. Are we surprised that the Dallas Mavericks have not been a little bit more involved? Would Houston entertain a Texas trade? Because Mark Cuban is wild. He'll listen. I'll give Mark Cuban credit. He does what needs to be done to win. And I don't know what their cap situation is, and maybe that's where I'll pump my brakes a little bit. But I'm a little bit surprised that there's not enough talk about the Dallas Mavericks sort of jumping in there. I know that they are in the potential Greek Freak sweepstakes for next year. So I don't know if they want to blow their brains out now, because I always think that I'd rather pay money than give up assets if you're just willing to wait one more year. But I'm surprised the Dallas Mavericks have not been talked about more, unless I missed something.
That's actually a good point.
I don't know why JJ Barea brought that to my attention. That's weird.
Maybe because it says they're about to move him, or they're looking to move him.
No, they just signed him, man.
They released him.
Oh, they released him?
Yeah, they released him.
So
that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
that's a shame.
Yeah, so they released him today. They signed him, but no, they gave Mark Cuban gave the explanation that about in terms of that. We'll go on to that for just a second. That they signed him, so that way he was guaranteed his money. Now they'll waive him. So now you can go wherever you want, so a contending team, and still get the money.
But do you see what I mean?
And that's the thing.
Cuban's a good guy.
He's a good guy, and that's what a lot of people don't see.
Say what you want to say.
And another thing with Dallas is he reported today they're gonna lose about $100 million in terms of due to COVID and all that stuff. So that's something to look out for in terms of why they might not be in on the Harden sweepstakes, because you don't want to cash strap yourself, especially with the 2021 class coming out, whether they get Giannis or they get whoever else is out there.
Right.
So you don't want to cash strap yourself. And Mark Cuban's not, and that team is not. They're not stupid people. They're not going to make stupid moves just to make stupid moves.
Yeah. And you know what? The COVID thing, the revenue is actually a wild card point in this when it comes to transactions, because owners are looking at their bottom line, and again, anybody who knows business is you want to increase profit and lower your loss, right? And people are not making money. And I know they're talking about billionaires and this and that, but this is how they got rich, by not doing stupid ass things.
Yep.
So that's a good point that you make. Overall, the COVID thing is like, listen, if we're a tax team or at almost a tax line, do you really want to pay on a year that you don't know what's going to happen? And when the money's not coming in as it usually is. And I understand that as of yesterday, or was it maybe today, I don't know if you guys can clarify that, the NBA gave every team $30 million in relief.
Yeah, it was yesterday.
Right? Was it yesterday? Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if, this is why you have an idea and then it's like, oh, wait, it's 2020, 2021. Let's bring it back a little bit, right? Because money has a massive play in what every team does. Unless you're the Knicks, but I don't even know if they know there's COVID going on. So.
Yeah.
Too soon?
Can we see James Harden back in OKC?
Wow.
I'm just kidding. We obviously know that's not. They got all those picks. They're not going to trade those picks back to get James Harden back. So
no,
that's not going to happen.
OKC is just going to ask Houston for picks without even a trade, and Houston will say, okay.
Yeah, you give us James Harden and a first-round pick, and we'll give you
James Harden
a second-round pick back.
You back James Harden.
Yeah, we'll give you a second. Yeah,
we'll keep your picks and give you back James Harden.
Yeah. Exactly.
Play him for one game. He's going to score 50 points. His value goes up. We're going to trade him back to you, and you give us 6
more picks.
Yeah, exactly. For the next 30 years. With the first overall pick, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder for the next 10 years. They don't even have to have a draft lottery anymore.
No, it just all goes to OKC.
It goes to OKC.
Absolutely. That's great.
And then the Knicks with last pick.
Man, the Knicks. Nobody talks about the Knicks anymore. Another topic that was talked about this week, it's been the last couple of days that it's come out. Kyrie Irving, LeBron James. We had the comment weeks ago that what Kyrie said that he's never played with somebody, a clutch player, as clutch as Kevin Durant, and
LeBron James himself.
No, he said, he's never played with any. He's been the clutchest player on the team, but he's never played with somebody as clutch. Now he's referring to Kevin Durant being a closer in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
LeBron responded to that this week, saying that he was hurt by it and stuff like that. So, what do you guys think about this Kyrie versus LeBron thing?
I'm torn. I'm torn because for years I hated LeBron, and I still don't like him, but I respect his game. And then, I was just looking at this over the last few years. LeBron was in Cleveland, and I'm sorry for the wrestling heads again, but he was a baby face, which means a good guy, right? Everybody loved LeBron. LeBron in Cleveland, this and that. He's a savior in save Ohio. Then he goes to Miami, becomes the bad guy. Everybody hates LeBron. But then LeBron didn't like being the bad guy. He needed to be the good guy. So he went back to Cleveland.
Right?
Yeah. So again, going back to babyface. It's like, it's this, that, and back and forth. And now he goes to the Lakers, and people, the Lakers, they have that pedigree of winning championships, previous, other than the previous few years and whatnot. Then he saves the franchise again, right? But it's the Lakers. So especially in the West Coast, people are like, I hate LeBron again, this and that.
Yeah.
But then he's always trying to somehow be the nice guy. And again, this is not a knock on LeBron, because I'm getting to my point in 1 second. I don't know what Kyrie Irving's point is. And I also see what LeBron is doing, right? LeBron knows, first of all, he knows he was clutch. But he's spun it in such a way that I'm hurt.
He's playing into it.
Right? This hurts my feelings. I'm LeBron James, right?
How dare you say that?
I have feelings too, right? This is the same guy that said, I want my damn respect when they lifted the Larry O.B. And that was the heel part. That's the bad guy part, right? That's why everybody went, what do you need respect for? What's wrong with you? Right? So to me, LeBron knows exactly what he was doing. LeBron doesn't need to respond to any of this. Kyrie was and is the second fiddle. Okay? Kyrie's a great player. Kyrie talks a lot of shit. And you know that. Kyrie also knows what he's doing. And he's just playing it up. And these guys are just going back and forth. But LeBron could have literally ripped him a new one, and he chose not to. He took the high road, right? And he made himself the bigger person, sort of, by saying, my feelings are hurt. His feelings are not hurt, guys. The guy has rings. He's got rings. He's fine. He is whether people like it or not, he is the face of the NBA until he decides otherwise, right? I don't think I'm wrong in that, or I don't think it's a stretch. So Kyrie Irving's thing is, to me, is first of all, Kyrie, just play. Dude, just play. Stop being so toxic. Stop saying things and then you don't want to talk to the media and this and that, but then you go rip your teammate who helped you win a championship. So give it a break, man. I think it's a lot of nonsense. I think it's funny what LeBron is doing. He's a very calculated individual. So whatever. To me, it's almost a forced rivalry, in my opinion.
Yeah, so it's no secret. I too, as well, doesn't like LeBron as a player. But fact is, whether you like LeBron or hate LeBron, you have to respect his work.
Of course.
You have to respect what he does and his game. And to me, it's straight up disrespectful that Kyrie would say something like that. And to your point, Marco, I think Kyrie is just trying to get under his skin.
Why? They're in a different conference.
That's what I'm saying. Why? For what reason? I don't know if they're secretly beefing and no one knows. I don't know if they still talk to each other or get along. It could be. But to me, that it's just disrespectful for Kyrie to say something like that. I mean, obviously LeBron was a superstar in Cleveland. LeBron was the one that actually got Kyrie his ring. So saying you've never played with someone as clutch, it's just straight up BS. It's bullshit. that's not something you can say when you've played on a team for how much years with LeBron James. And to me, it's disrespectful, it's petty, and it's Kyrie trying. To me, Kyrie's just trying to get under LeBron's skin, and for what reason? Your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's Bush League. That's what it is. I mean, he's just being he's been Kyrie's been knocked around so many times the last couple of years due to his stupidity and his antics. And then he came out into the media already before saying that he didn't want to talk to the media, that he wanted to convey his point his own way. You know what I mean? So I should have elaborated. So the two comments went as this. So this was the comment from Kyrie Irving.
Please. Yes.
This is the first time in my career when I could look down and be like, that mother effer can make that shot too. LeBron's thing when he said it on the road tripping podcast there, he was like, I was like, damn, the whole time while I was in Cleveland, I only wanted to see Kyrie be the MVP of our league. I only cared about his success. It kind of hurt me a little bit, and he added that part a little bit because, like you said, Marco, yeah, it may hurt him a little bit, but at the end of the day, LeBron James is LeBron James for a reason. He is.
And LeBron knows he's LeBron.
He is arguably the best player in the league right now.
Right. And this is why I always use the wrestling reference, because it's playing to the crowd. It's playing to your audience, right? Because LeBron knows he can just turn up the mic and go completely, bad guy. And he can say, do you know who the hell I am? Mm-hmm. I made you. I gave you that championship ring.
Yep.
So you need to sit down and shut the hell up, because you will always be the second to me, and that's what it is. But he chose the other way. And you're right. I like that. He said a little bit. I'm hurt a little bit.
He hurt my feelings a little bit.
For 30 seconds, I was hurt, right? And then I moved on because I realized I'm still going after these. So
exactly. And
unless I see you in the finals.
Yeah, exactly. And he just won a title. You're talking to a guy that just won an NBA title. Well, you said
it's kind of funny, right? Like, it's not like LeBron hasn't won a title. Like, it's not like LeBron is 0-for-9 or something like that. It's like, really?
So basically, what Kyrie is saying is that KD is, in fact, a better player than LeBron, eh?
Yes.
Without saying it, yes.
Yeah, that's basically what he's saying. Yeah. Other than saying it in those words, yeah.
Yes. It's shade, right? It's shade.
Yeah, and that's why I said it's Bush League. It's just stupidity, and it just adds fuel to the fire, and that's what Kyrie Irving does, and he does it in the media, and that's why he gets lambasted for it in the media, because he talks a lot, he adds fuel to the fire, and then he'll complain and say that his words were taken out of context. It wasn't meaning that way. You know what I mean? He should be the one saying it the way he wants to say it. At the end of the day, that's not how it works, my friend. You're a player in the NBA.
My friend.
The media is gonna spin it however they want to spin it. That's their job. Their job is to provide stories. Their job is not to provide you with an op-ed piece to make you look good. Their job is to report the stories. So if you're telling them that KD is a better fourth quarter player or can make the shot at the end of the game, like you're basically saying LeBron James isn't as good as Kevin Durant, which to me is disrespectful. I mean, it's arguably Kevin Durant and LeBron James are two of the best players in the NBA when Kevin Durant.
No doubt.
We're not going to sit here and dispute that, because I think all of us would agree that whether they're 1A and 1B, it doesn't matter. But LeBron James is arguably one of the best players to ever play this game.
And I just want to be clear, because a lot of people who know me for years, and I've had this conversation, I'm not going to go out and get a LeBron James jersey anytime soon. I respect the man's game. You guys know where I stand with the GOAT conversation. I'm not going to get into that. But again, you have to respect the man's game. And I think the thing that bugs me the most is that, other than Kyrie going to Duke, is the fact that Kyrie is a great player. He doesn't need anybody to he doesn't need to talk anybody into, look at me, I'm great. No, guy, we know how good you are, because when healthy, this guy's, I'm just going to say, this guy's elite.
Yep.
There's no doubt about it, guys. This guy's handles is unreal.
Yep.
Unreal. And he's a smart guy. Don't get it twisted. He knows what he's doing and how he does it. But sometimes he just has a weird way of looking at things. I don't know, man. It's just, but we'll see what happens, right? Because if he wins a ring or two, this conversation gets recycled. A few years ago, somebody out there had the same discussion about Jimmy Butler, right? And then Jimmy Butler went into the bubble, and everybody now thinks that Jimmy Butler is, the greatest thing since sliced bread. So,
guys, we're sitting here having a conversation about a statement that the guy who thinks the earth is flat made. Go figure.
Yeah.
I'm just going to leave it there.
You win.
Yeah.
Okay. I take the
next topic.
Yep.
Yeah.
No.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, we were speaking of top players, best players in the league, all that stuff. So ESPN
oh God,
dropped their top 100 rankings.
Did Kyrie make that top 100 for ESPN?
He did.
Because I'm getting Kyrie vibes from that.
Yeah.
Sorry to say.
He did. I know, and he made him. He put himself a modest 25th, right? He just, I don't want to make myself too high, too low, but no. ESPN released their top 100 player list yesterday. They had their thing was, this is how it's going to play out, more or less, their projection, so to speak. These are going to be the players that are going to be the best players, the top 100 players this season. So, I mean, we talked about this before the podcast. We talked about this in our group chat. A couple things jumped out at us. I mean, the first one we can talk about all the way at the top there. We got John Wall as the 81st ranked player on their list. Behind him, we've got DeMar DeRozan at 82. We've got Buddy Hield, Danilo Gallinari, Patrick Beverly, Joe Ingles. We got guys like that behind Mr. John Wall, who, like I said earlier in this, has played 74 games in the last 4 years, hasn't played in 2 years, and he's in the top 100 list right now. So, I mean, I don't know. We can talk about that one, and then we'll move on to a couple more that we saw that were a little bit suspect, so to speak.
What do you want me to start? I'm going to try not to rant. I'm just going to pick on John Wall for 1 second. All right. I don't know what the criteria is, and I know these are projections, right? And before we got on the podcast today, we were talking about how do they do this and that. And it's basically we came to the conclusion this is analytical projections, correct?
More or less.
Right. If that's the case, then John Wall should be not applicable, because I don't know what he did last year. You know why? Because he didn't play. So if you're basing it on the years to come based on what he has done, right? And that's basically why you do projections. It's a trajectory. It's whether it's up or down, then he shouldn't be on this list because he's not applicable. My guy hasn't played in what, 2 years? 3?
2 years.
And again, this is not a disrespect to John Wall. We know what John Wall can do when healthy, right? And then we can debate that on another day. But I mean, to put him ahead of, and again, this is not a biased opinion, DeMar DeRozan, that's correct, right? He was ahead of DeRozan. And DeRozan, I think, clapped back today.
By one.
To me, it's nonsensical. Obviously, the market where you play also has a bit of maybe it's part of the criteria, marketability. I don't know. I don't know. And again, it could be ESPN trying to spin things a little bit of a certain way to get us, guys like us, talking and people. Yeah, clickbait, right? But to me, I'm just going to leave it at that. Listen, there's a lot of garbage on that ESPN list, and we'll tag ESPN on this podcast, by the way. Go ahead. Maybe we can get Max Kellerman to talk to us. I'm going to get into a fight with him. But if we keep dropping names, somebody's going to pick this up. You know that, right? So I don't know. I wish John Wall the best, but he's not a top 100 player going forward until proven otherwise. If he balls out this year, yeah, put him in the top 100, put him in the top 50. I don't give a damn. But over DeMar DeRozan, no.
First off, I don't expect any better from ESPN. Like, I only expect garbage coming from ESPN, to be honest. And if this is a like a projection or prediction, they're missing that keyword from their heading. You can't just call it a top 100 player list. You have to put prediction in it, or projection, because as you said, Marco, I would like to know the criteria for, like, how did they go about making this list?
If you have a credit card and $6, you can find out what the criteria is.
Or just give it to J.R. Smith with a bottle of Hennessy. like that's what it seemed like to me, because like literally nothing on this list makes sense. Nothing on this list makes sense to me. As you said,
can you tell me who number one was, just to confirm it was LeBron?
They haven't released the top 10.
They haven't released the top 100.
So it's 11 to 100, right?
Of course they haven't, right?
Yeah.
They want to make you keep waiting.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's just nonsense to me. Honestly, I can't say I cannot agree with probably 99% of what's on this list.
99%.
Yeah.
Wow.
Maybe we'll have to do our own rankings for this season.
First of all, why is Paul George on this list?
Oh my goodness.
Patrick Beverly? There should be a second, like, 101 to 200.
Shit talkers list? The top 100 shit talkers? It'd be Pat Beverly, Paul George.
Number one.
Yeah. Like 1, 2. And then Marcus Morris as number 3, right? Those three in order?
No, you're wrong. You're wrong. And I'll tell you why you're wrong. Patrick Beverly wouldn't be number 1 on that list because you have to be able to back it up.
I was going to say.
True.
If you're going to talk shit, back it up, son. So as a matter of fact, you're still in the bottom 100 because all you do is talk and you do nothing.
Yeah, I was going to say it should be shit talkers who don't do anything.
Yeah.
Basically.
If that's the case, he's the GOAT.
Yep.
So another one that kind of jumped out at me, I mean, he declared himself the King of the North, at the end of the playoffs last year, Marcus Smart.
You mean the bitch of the South?
Yeah, that guy. Number 30. At number 37, they have Marcus Smart. So, I'll read off a couple guys after behind him. We've got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. We have Malcolm Brogdon. We have Steady Fred Van Vliet. You got Kristaps Porzingis, Nikola Vucevic, Draymond Green, Gordon Hayward, Kemba Walker. A lot of these guys fell behind.
Spencer Dinwiddie.
Right, behind Marcus Smart there.
Marcus
so what do you guys think about those rankings in terms of, like, how high Marcus Smart is compared to certain guys on this list?
If Marcus Smart was a New York Knick, if Marcus Smart was a Toronto Raptor, if Marcus Smart was anywhere but in Boston, he's not where he is.
Agreed.
Right? And just want to make it clear, I'm going to call myself out. This is just green is for a beer. As a Pilsner, it has nothing to do with the Celtics. I just want to make that clear before you guys start hitting me up and stuff. But again, maybe it's what we saw last, and maybe this is again what's based on, right? It's like, because let's give credit where credit is due. Marcus Smart had a very good couple of rounds, right? I mean, he was very visible out there. I'll just leave it at that, right? He was very visible out there.
Yes.
So you remember what you saw, and what you saw was Marcus Smart doing his thing. I'm trying to be nice here, by the way, and based on that, you can put Marcus Smart wherever you want. But the fact is, I mean, I think he's a very good player, but he's middle of the pack kind of guy. I think I'm going to say he's slightly overrated. Good defender. He does a lot of his, trash talking and his antics and stuff like that. He's a very good player. And I think that if he's on your team, you like him, but at the end of the day, it's nothing special to me. I said what I said.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree.
And I'm not trying to pick on the Celtics, but I am. And you guys know how I feel about Jason Tatum. I think he's outstanding. So it's not Boston bias.
But they have Mike Conley at 71 and Marcus Smart at 37. Like what? Like that explains everything. I don't know. It's Tyler Hero at 59.
Again, but what did you see last from Tyler Hero, right? And that's my point.
But what did you see last from Marcus Smart?
He was flopping like a fish on the court. So that image stays on your head. If you go to YouTube right now and go flopping fish, Marcus Smart comes up. I can guarantee you. Go on. I'll wait.
Yep. Like there's not much more to say about that. It's like the entire list.
I mean, it's the list is kind of, I don't know, it doesn't make sense. I mean, you got Bam Adebayo at number 13, Chris Paul, Ben Simmons, Devin Booker, Donovan Mitchell, Zion Williamson, all behind Bam Adebayo. Don't get me wrong, Bam Adebayo he's a great player, man. He turned up this season. He got his max contract. He's a rim protector. He can score. He can dunk. He can do a lot of things. But putting him in the top 15 of the NBA players playing right now, I mean, that's a little ridiculous. I mean, you're talking about a guy like Devin Booker, who is arguably, to me, top 10 in the NBA, if not top 15 for sure. One hands down, top 15. You have Ben Simmons at number 17. Devin Booker at number 17. You add in Chris Paul to that lineup, Devin Booker's just going to he's going to climb even higher than what he was. Ben Simmons, I mean, we know what Ben Simmons, he doesn't have a jump shot, doesn't have a 3-point shot, but Ben Simmons is still a good basketball player.
Right.
He's a good facilitator. He gets on the boards. He could still score. He could still score points. But Bam Adebayo ahead of him, I mean, unless they're basing things off of the way things went at the end of the season, but I don't think Bam Adebayo is going to have quite as effective year as he did last season in the bubble. He had a great time he had a great thing in the bubble. That's about it. But I don't there's just going through this list. Bradley Beal, another guy, he top 2 in scoring, top 3 in scoring, and he was outside the top 20.
Would you put? Sorry, so Ben Simmons was where?
Ben Simmons was 16. Yeah.
Okay, so see, I would switch that up. I'm not a huge fan of Bradley Beal. I think he bugs me a little bit, but the guy can ball.
Exactly.
And by the way, you guys ready for a shock? I know you're going to be surprised. He actually shoots the basketball, which Ben Simmons apparently has not gotten the email or the memo that you're supposed to shoot the basketball into the basket to actually try to win games. And he thinks that it's not necessary as long as they're winning games. But guess what? You need to shoot it, right?
Okay.
Just try to shoot it. And anyways, whatever.
You say you would switch that up, but then they have Russell Westbrook at 36.
Yeah, I mean,
how does that even make sense?
I don't know.
that's the thing.
On that one.
Man, this list is just
usually pause and look confused, but now I don't know. It's again. Yeah. I think that the bottom line is the criteria. I don't know what the criteria.
Yeah, what's the
Well, like I
if
said,
anybody knows the criteria, hit us up.
Get smash and make a list. I feel like the criteria is just going through their Instagram friends list, and whoever pops up first, they'll go in that order.
Whoever follows them.
This list is definitely not based on basketball and their game. Not at all.
Yeah, like Marcus Morris, the guy who just signed a 4-year, $64 million deal. He's the 99th ranked player on this list. Marcus Morris, and he just signed a huge contract. Zach LaVine, where is he? Zach LaVine was, I don't even know, Lonzo Ball at 54, ahead of Zach LaVine.
And how do you have Seth Curry at 91? Really?
They probably see him more of as a role player. I don't know. Again, we gotta. We're gonna have. I have a feeling we're gonna circle back.
So wait, you have Lonzo Ball ahead of Seth Curry?
Well, would you?
No. I love Lonzo Ball. I've been a fan of him for
But Seth
forever
doesn't
since.
even start, does he? So
Yeah, he
He's
didn't
off
start
the
with
bench.
Dallas.
yeah, but
Yeah,
I guess.
but Seth, come on, Seth is better than 91, bro.
If you were doing a fantasy team right now, and you had two guys to pick, you're telling me that you pick Seth Curry over Lonzo Ball?
Yeah, I would.
Based
Hands
on what?
down.
Based on what? Hands down? You
Yeah.
wouldn't even think about it?
No, come
wanna
on,
have
just
a-
based
you
on
wanna have 5 minutes-
shooting.
Okay.
Just based off shooting, just shooting alone.
So then this is where we go back to my point. What is the criteria of your fantasy team? What are we grading
all-
everything on, right? So
Yeah,
there you go.
it's all
See
criteria.
what I did there? I
At the
brought it
end
all
of the
back
day.
full circle.
Yeah.
Mark's is gonna have a team of straight up shooters. That's it. You know, just the best shooters in the NBA. That's what
Shooting
he's going for. Exactly.
The inbound is gonna be a shot, bro.
Your team's name is going to be called the Hardens.
Before the season starts, we got to do our own our own fantasy lineup.
Yes.
Just even if it's just the three of us. Or
We're gonna get the people involved. Let's start a league.
Yeah,
How
start
about
a league
that?
of basketball.
Hit us up if you want to join our fantasy league.
Yeah, you know, if we get enough people that say, you know what, we actually want to join or whatever, then we'll actually
Let's
start
do
it
it.
up. You know.
Yeah.
Look at us making promises on
Our criteria is that
that's-
you have to be smashed though to pick us
Oh,
while you're doing your pick.
I'm in the Hall of Fame, bro. That's it. Retire my jersey.
You know, again, we talked about one last week. I'll throw this one out at you. I posted something on our Instagram again, another start bench cut, another popular one with the people. The three people I picked were three big men, three centers more or less. We have Shaq, Shaquille O'Neal, the big Diesel, big Aristotle. We have the Brow, Anthony Davis, and we have the Greek Freak, Giannis Antetokounmpo. You have to start one, you have to bench one, you have to cut one. Let's hear who you're going to start, who you're going to bench, who you're going to cut.
So we have Anthony Davis. We have Shaq.
And the Greek Freak.
Okay. So I'm starting Shaq. I'm benching AD. And you know the rest.
You read my mind, Marco.
I know what I've seen from Shaq. And if you haven't, then you need to, as he said, Google him.
Yeah.
Right? Anthony Davis is as good as a two-way big man as, and again, this is no disrespect, and he has a ring as well. And then Giannis, you're gonna have to cut one, guys. Like, it's at the end of the day, you gotta look at the resume, right? Look at the resume, and yeah, somebody's gonna say, well, Giannis is a two-time MVP and is a player, defensive player of the year, which is a phenomenal argument if you didn't have Shaq and AD on the same damn category, right? Shaq is one of the most dominant
defense
big men that we have seen in this generation. I just want to make that clear that before people freak out. In our generation that we have seen, Shaq, guys, people who are younger than us or generation that are used to now AD and Giannis and going forward, and maybe Joel Embiid, please do me a favor after this podcast. Go watch 10 minutes or 5 minutes of Shaquille O'Neal highlights, and then come back to us, hit us up, and then you tell me if I was wrong on starting Shaq, a Hall of Famer, and AD. And then again, if we have this conversation 3 years from now and Giannis has a couple of rings and he has dominated the league like Shaq has in the past, then maybe you can make an argument. Until then, you have to cut the freak.
Yeah, I agree. Start Shaq, bench AD, cut Giannis. You've already made a point about why you choose that. Literally the same reason. Shaq is Shaq. Shaq is one of the greatest to ever do it out there as a big man. Like, there's no going around that. If you don't know Shaq's body of work, as Marco said, Google him. Google the guy. YouTube him. Get back to us. 80, great offense, defense guy. We've all seen what he's done, what he can do. We've seen what Giannis has done and what he can do. Right now, I'm giving AD that edge over Giannis. So I have to go with Shaq. Start Shaq, bench AD, and cut Giannis.
Yeah, and it's kind of been. I brought this up last week in terms of the consensus has kind of been exactly what you guys said. Shaq, AD, and then Giannis is the cut one. There's a lot of people going back and forth saying, like I said earlier before the podcast started, a lot of people saying that if you cut Giannis, you're an idiot. If you cut AD, you're an idiot. Those two are in my opinion, are pretty equal in terms of how they play the game. Both can protect the rim. Both are good defensively. Both are also good offensively. But in my start bench cut here, I'm the same as you guys. You got to start Shaq. I mean, he's the most dominant big man in at least the last 20, 25 years. The most dominant big 100%. Man. And there's nobody been as dominant as him. It doesn't matter if he can't shoot free throws, he can't shoot threes. It doesn't matter. When Shaq came on the block, people were afraid of Shaq. They weren't gonna, that's why they invented the thing called the Hack-a-Shaq.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because
when you have a play named after you, you're big.
Exactly. Anthony Davis, he's won an NBA title, but he's not your prototypical power forward. He's not your prototypical center. He could carry the ball up. He can also distribute the ball, and he could play, like I said, offensive, defensively. I think he should have won Defensive Player of the Year this year, but we saw who that went to. And then Giannis, again, like I said, they're both arguably. I had a tough decision between Davis and Giannis going back and forth before we got on this podcast of who I would pick.
Yeah, they're similar.
But they're similar players. Yes, Giannis has back-to-back MVPs. That's fantastic. But, I mean, they're MVPs. Like, just because he scored the most points or had the best season doesn't mean he's the better of the two players or somebody that I'd want on my team starting. So that's a war on the bench, whatever. But if you're given the chance of three, Giannis has got to be the guy I have to cut.
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's almost a no-brainer, but it still makes you think because it's not like Giannis is some sort of middle of the pack kind of guy. Like, I mean, you're talking about a guy who is in his own right a phenomenal player and obviously a top 5 player in the league as we speak. But you got to look at the entire body of work. So maybe in a way it's a little bit unfair. But I bet you this: if you take out Shaq and put AD, Giannis, and Embiid, then the conversation changes. You're not cutting Giannis,
no,
right? Again, you got to look at the entire thing, and unfortunately, our friend. Oops, I can't say our friend. That's tampering, right? Because we're from the city. But yeah, anyways, I hope Masai is not watching this because we're not.
So one more thing before we end the podcast here. Earlier today, Giannis spoke about his Supermax extension that's coming up on the 21st of December. It's right around the corner. According to what he said was that right now he's not focusing on that. He's leaving that up to his agent. Do you guys think that obviously he's not focusing on that? Do you take that as a sign that, more than likely he's not going to sign that extension if he's not even thinking about it, mentioning it, nothing? What do you guys think about that?
I think that he's thinking about it. There's no doubt about it. And if you're thinking about it, you have one foot out the door. Okay. And I don't want to put it all in one particular transaction, but I think what may have swung the pendulum a little bit is that Bogdanovich deal that didn't go through. Not because he's a great player that would have made such a phenomenal difference, but it's the perception of where he is and where people want to be, right? So if people don't want to necessarily be there, why should you? Right now, this could completely be a smokescreen and he's ready to sign a deal and he's just waiting it out. But we are at December 9th as we record this podcast and he still hasn't made a decision. Either you want to stay or you need some time to think about it. And correct me if I'm wrong, if he declines that option now, he can't get that Supermax. He can't get that same number, correct?
No.
So that's a lot of money to leave on the table, guys. So either you want your money and then you harden your way out of the deal, right? Ask for a trade later. Or you just want a complete fresh start and go somewhere else and start a new venture because you don't necessarily believe that what you have, the parts that are around you are the parts that are going to get you as an individual to that next level, which is, where all the other elite guys are. This is a very tricky situation. And I think I have to still give kudos to the Bucks for doing everything that they can to make him happy. I don't know if it's going to be enough, but I guess we're going to find out. I think that he's leaning towards being out.
Yeah, Mark, just to jump in. So yeah, if he doesn't sign with if he signs with the 21st, he could sign a max 5-year, $223 million deal. If he doesn't sign that, he could still sign a max, but it's for less money.
It's not a super max.
It's not a super max.
Not a super.
If he doesn't, we'll go on to that and I'll go on to your part, Marco. But if he doesn't sign that, points to more than likely him testing free agency.
I think he's going to test free agency.
If he says he's not thinking about it, I believe him. He's not thinking about it. I think Giannis has one foot out the door. We've all seen this with Kawhi, and people were saying, why the hell would you pass up on a max or super max contract when you just won with the team and you have all this money that you could make? So I think it's going to be a similar situation with Giannis. I think he's probably just fed up. Obviously, certain deals fell apart in the off season, and I just don't think I think right now he's focused on this season being the best player and trying and seeing where that gets the team. If they could go for a run, how far it gets them. But I don't think he's focused on, I'm going to sign a supermax contract with this team because, as he said a few weeks ago, he said something similar to he wants to be there for as long as possible or something like that.
Well, you have to say the right things, right? You can't. He doesn't want, right? So he doesn't want to look like a bad guy right now. But at the end of the day, you got to do what's best for Giannis.
Because he still sides with them. Yeah. I mean, if you asked Kawhi that before he left Toronto, he probably would have said the same.
Because he said nothing.
You can't show your cards, right? But yeah.
Well, Uncle Dennis would have said something.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't think he's going to sign a supermax. I don't think he's thinking about it right now. I think he's just focusing what he can get done this season and how far this team will go this season. Yeah. Wherever that is, it's just he'll see.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think he's thinking about it. I mean, I don't think there's no way you can't think about it in terms of, even if it's at the back of your mind. Yes, he may be focused on winning an NBA title and taking the Bucks to a championship, but he's definitely thinking about it. But would I be surprised if he decided to sign the Supermax extension? Not at all. I mean, I mentioned it before. This pandemic has played a huge part in a lot of things. Will he be able to go out and get the same amount of money that he thinks he's worth, or that he's worth? You don't know, because this pandemic has changed a lot of things for teams. They might not have the money if fans aren't allowed into arenas, if revenue's not there and stuff like that. So that might change. So I wouldn't be surprised if he did sign with Milwaukee and sign that Supermax. Do I think he's going to? No. I think he will test free agency. I just think he'd be stupid not to. Yes, you can get $223 million if you stay with Milwaukee, but you're stuck there for the next 5 years. And if you don't win anything, you're stuck there.
Unless you force a trade, as Mark said.
Yeah, but like at $223 million, who's going to be willing to take on that contract? Unless you're Oklahoma City.
It's Giannis, bro. Come on.
Yeah, but like you're going to have to trade up.
Someone will take it.
Yeah, but unless you're OKC, you're not going to have the assets to trade for Giannis and Antetokounmpo, right? You're not going to have the first-round picks that Milwaukee's going to ask for.
Maybe OKC saw this coming.
What you're exactly right. They could. That's something that you don't know. It's a pretty smart thing to say, because that could be a reason why they're saving up those picks, because maybe they'll be the ones to, hey, we've got 16 first-round picks.
We can give you what you want.
Exactly. Yeah. Here you go. Take 5 of our first-round picks. We'll take Giannis and sign him to a Supermax.
We'll have 11 left. Don't worry about it.
Exactly.
You know what? Take an extra one. It's okay.
Yeah.
Exactly. We still have 10 more.
I'll give you another one. I like you. You're good.
Exactly.
Depending on how fast you sign this deal, we'll throw in a couple more.
Now, what we do know, Shannon, is not to cut you off, but there's certain teams that are planning accordingly to be prepared for a potential free agency signing of a particular player from Greece.
Yeah.
It could be a team from,
Tampa.
No, but just say it.
Yeah, it could be them. I mean, it's not the Knicks. Like Knicks fans are pulling the wool over your eyes with all these 1 year signings. They ain't signing anybody. Yeah, they ain't signing anybody.
The Knicks.
The Knicks don't even know.
Yeah, no, I think he does test free agency. I think he'd be stupid not to see what his options are. Yeah, he'll lose a little bit of money if he wants to go back to Milwaukee at the end of the day. You sign for a little bit less money, but a little less money means that in a couple of years, if you don't make it to the playoffs, you don't make it to the finals, the team starts failing. Milwaukee, you have the chance to force your self out and get traded because your contract's going to be a little less. $223 million for 5 years is a lot of money for somebody to pony up.
Right. Or if they make the finals, right, with a cheaper contract under Giannis, and he can say, you know what, I really actually like it here. I had a change of heart. Now you guys have extra money to go get another guy.
Exactly.
So, one way or another, again, at the end of the day, to your point, I think he obviously holds the entire leverage. And maybe money is not that important to him at this particular juncture of his career because he knows that he's got money in the bank. He's good, man. And family priority too. Whatever is happening right now, he's a new dad as well. So who knows? Things change, man. Things change.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's strictly whatever he does is strictly strategic, and maybe he can do without all that money for 1 year.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously there are vaccines come in, this whole COVID thing that affected the NBA, that's obviously going to change with vaccines and stuff. There's going to be players back in the arena. At some point, teams are going to start making back money and stuff. So,
that money that you're going to make back is not going to be automatically there. There's going to be a slow ramp up. And it's not necessarily there's a vaccine.
Yeah,
we're selling on.
No, it's not going to be overnight.
I know that's not what you're saying, but
overnight. No.
And to your point, Shannon, as well, and to yours, market, there's going to be a market adjustment slowly, right? So this is why, all joking aside, if you plan and project properly, then you can be properly set up for the future because everything is predicated based on what happens this year and the following year, and maybe 1 year after that, right? So plan it now. Try to be under the tax, this and that, blah, blah, blah. You give certain players 8% less the second year of their contract. I'm just saying, right? And then you sort of go from there. So it's fascinating. The one thing that we know about the NBA, they're going to keep us entertained and they're going to keep us on our toes. So we never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, agreed. And, like I said, the NBA season's coming up and things are going to start coming fast and furious. So I can't wait for the next podcast and the next podcast. But again, guys, check out our website, thebballlab.com.
Yes.
We just released our power rankings. Go on, check them out, comment, let us know who you think if we screwed up, like ESPN did with theirs, but we probably didn't. But anyways, check out our website, go to our Instagram, follow us there as well. We also, like I said, we're gonna have a new segment that we're gonna post out every Friday called Top 5
Something
Fridays.
Fun. Yeah.
Top 5 Fridays. We're going to give you.
It's going to be good.
Exactly. We're going to give you 5 players.
Interactive.
Yeah. You list your 5 players and how you would rank them. Just we'll see how that goes. But like I said, check us out. Follow us on all our social media platforms. Check us out on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify. We're everywhere and anywhere. So
Instagram, the B-Ball Lab.
Yeah, Instagram, the B-Ball Lab, Twitter, the B-Ball Lab, on YouTube, the Basketball Lab podcast. So just like I said, check us out everywhere. Follow us, subscribe, all that stuff.
We got your back,
share,
folks.
Subscribe, comment.
We got your back, folks. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Basketball Lab podcast. Thanks for joining us this week on the Basketball Lab podcast. Make sure to follow us on our social media. You could follow us on Instagram and Twitter at The B-Ball Lab. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Basketball Lab Podcast. And you could also find us on iTunes, Spotify, and Amazon Music.